the stand. Now he runs. He produces a magic trick. He pulls out another one. This is incredible. This is ridiculous. This is 15 out of 10 of the incredible meter. What a player. What an entertainer. Give him the medal. Give him the Dally M medal.
Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast. It is officially that time of year. Round 1, or at least round 0, Las Vegas team lists are in. Super coaches, get ready, and footy fans, just get excited because it's just around the corner now. So as per usual, we're just going to run over these team lists, do our live thoughts. Of course, we've only got the Vegas team list at the moment, so 2 games, 4 teams, but let's just get right into it, shall we? So, of course, round 1, or round 0, if you will, at 1:30 p.m. on the 3rd of March, the Seagulls will take on the Rabbitohs in Las Vegas, and the Seagulls line up as follows. Tom Trbojevic at fullback. Jason Saab and Jackson Paulo are the wingers. Tolutau Kula and Ruben Garrick in the centres. Luke Brooks at 6. Daly Cherry Evans is the halfback. Taniela Paseka and Josh Aloiai in the front row. Lachlan Croker at hooker. Homali Olakawatu, Ben Trbojevic and the second rowers, and Jake Trbojevic is the lock forward. On the interchange, we have Carl Lawton, Corey Waddell, Ethan Bullymore, and Nathan Brown. For the Rabbitohs, at fullback, Latrell Mitchell. On the wings, Alex Johnston and Jacob Gagai making his debut over in Vegas. The centres are Isaiah Tass and Richie Kennar. 5'8" is Cody Walker, and halfback is Lachlan Ilias. The front rowers for the Rabbitohs are Taveta Totola and Sean Kepi. Damien Cook is the hooker. Keon Kolomatangi and Jai Arrow are the second rowers, and the captain and lock is Cameron Murray. On the interchange for the Rabbitohs, we have Saliva Havili, Jacob Host, Davey Mawali, and Tom Burgess. Wow, who is excited? I know I am. I've got a smile ear to ear at the moment. So the first few things I sort of just want to look at it, just the sort of ends, a few news that we, maybe expected, maybe didn't expect. So looking at the Seagulls first, Jackson Paulo, as we sort of expected, gets first crack on the wing. Ruben Garrick sort of making that permanent switch to the centres now. Luke Brooks, we get to see our first taste of him in the NRL not in the NRL, but for the Manly Seagulls in NRL season. For the forward pack, Aloiai at prop. Obviously, we've lost Toafofoa Sipley to suspension, so Aloiai gets that run-on spot. And very interesting to see Ben Trbojevic taking in that second row spot. So, super coaches, that is a massive win for us. It is pretty interesting to note Carl Lawton made their bench. I'm a big fan of Carl Lawton. I really love him as a player, so I'm happy to see him there. But I know a lot of people were hoping either Jamie Humphries, the young gun, or Gordon Chen Kum Tong for a bit of hooker retrieval. But Carl Lawton, I think he offers a lot more versatility, covering at hooker, and can be a back rower, a lock forward. I really like Carl Lawton there. And it's good to see Nathan Brown, another one that they brought over, getting a bench spot. I really like him as a pickup for Manly. So exciting stuff. On their reserves, they have brought Aaron Woods, Tommy Talau, Brad Parker, Raymond Vallega, and Jake Arthur to Vegas with them as well. So I'd assume Jake Arthur, who's named the 18th man, will stay that way and be their 18th man in the Vegas round 0 game. But we won't know until close to kickoff for that. News for the Rabbitohs. Of course, they've got a few injuries in that back line. We have Jack White missing through suspension and Campbell Graham, who will miss the majority of the season, or at least half the season. So Jacob Gagai comes onto the wing. Richard Kennar is the centre. And Isaiah Tass, who we thought maybe would miss out on this side, but with everything that's gone wrong for the Rabbitohs, he is at centre there as well. It's interesting to note that Cody Walker has been named for this one. He's been a bit under an injury cloud, and they have named Dean Hawkins on the reserves in case he can't get through it. But I assume Cody Walker will get through it, and we will see him take his game. Sean Kepi, the new recruit, of course, from the Manly Seagulls, who they take on, lines up in the front row. It is interesting to note that they've gone with Jacob Host on their bench, and Tallis Duncan has missed the team completely, named that 18th man. And also what we sort of thought was going to happen with Peter Mamouzelos getting that 14 role. It's cool to see that they've stuck with Saliva Havili, but we'll have to see how that goes through the season. In terms of super coach stock there, obviously Tallis Duncan is at an all-time low, unfortunately. Not Sean Keppie. Yeah, we'll touch on Sean Keppie while we're here. Could be pretty darn good for him. You know, Tom Burgess is their mainstay on the bench, the experience, and you'd expect him to play half a game at least in minutes. But who knows how many minutes Davey Mawale can chalk up. So could be big minutes for Sean Keppie, or the minutes could go to Tavita Totola, who, bit of a spoiler, but he is in my Supercoach team as we speak. Of course, Jai Arrow getting that second row spot that we sort of hoped would go to Tallis Duncan. It's not an awful thing. He will shore up the defensive side of Lachlan Ilias, and at a sort of $400,000 price point, he could be an interesting one for Supercoaches if you feel that way. But no, it's really, really exciting stuff. I'm so keen that we've got footy back just around the corner now. The rest of the reserves for the Rabbitohs are, as I said, Tallis Duncan at 18, Michael Cheekham at 19, Shaq Mitchell, Peter Mamazelis, and as I said, Dean Hawkins as well. Exciting. I don't know about you guys, but I'm so keen for this. Oh, they've picked some bloody good teams to go to Vegas. The excitement is going to be on with Latrell and Turbo turning it on. But alas, we will move on to the Roosters and Broncos, who of course take place at 3:30 on the Sunday, again in Las Vegas on March 3rd. The Roosters line up as follows: James Tedesco at fullback, Daniel Tupou and Joseph Suali'i on the wings, Billy Smith and Joseph Manu are the centres, Luke Keary is 5'8", and Sam Walker is the halfback. The forward pack consists of Spencer Leniu and Lindsay Collins in the front row, Brandon Smith at 9, Siwa Wong and Sitili Tupanua are the second rowers, and Victor Radley is the lock. The interchanges Sandon Smith, Nafahu White, Nat Butcher, and Terrell May. Very interesting stuff, especially from a Supercoach perspective for the Roosters. Of course, we know that Dom Young has unfortunately been ruled out for this one. So Suali'i getting named on that wing, Smith at centre. It seems like, as I called for, that's what they'll go with when Dom Young returns. I assume and I expect and I sort of hope for Suali'i to drop out of this side completely, and Billy Smith will retain that centre position. I just think it's the logical choice. His future is with the Roosters, while Suali'i is in rugby union, and Smith is an out-and-out centre, so like seeing that. But now to the forward pack, it is interesting to see Spencer Leniu getting the run-on position. A lot of us sort of assumed he'd just sort of play a very similar role to what he did at the Penrith Panthers for the Roosters, but he has been named there. Of course, no Jared Warrior-Hargraves, who is currently out suspended, so we don't know if he'll keep that long-term, but there's every chance he does. And Terrell May, of course, getting the bench spot, so he didn't shore up that run-on spot either, even after his performances last year for the Roosters. Another one I'm sort of really disappointed to see is Angus Crichton in the reserves. I'm massive on Crichton, and I thought he'd be a lock in this team, at least on the bench. And I think it's really, really odd that Nat Butcher has been dropped to the interchange and they've elected to go with Siwa Wong and Sitili Tupanua. You know, Nat Butcher I thought was the Roosters' best player last year. I think he's so consistent, and I don't think he quite offers the impact that Wong or Tupanua offer. So why not play him at run on second row, and if you need impact, take him off and bring on Tupanua or Wong. I don't know. I'm not the coach, but it is very interesting. Also makes it interesting for a Supercoach perspective. Are we going to go with Siwa Wong? Are we going to go with Tupanua? Is the threat of Nat Butcher on the bench too big? Who knows? I think maybe one of them's a go. Maybe Siwa, maybe Tupanua. I'm not sure. I might ignore all of them because I'm scared of the Roosters forward pack and the depth they have. But definitely some options there, and it just makes things a whole lot more interesting for the Roosters. Now to the Broncos team list. Reece Walsh is the fullback. Jesse Arthurs and Dean Mariner are the wingers. Katoni Staggs and Selwyn Cobbo are the centres. Ezra Mam at 5'8", Adam Reynolds at halfback. The forward pack is Corey Jensen at prop with Payne Haas. Billy Walters is the hooker. Brendan Piakura and Jordan Rickey are the second rowers, and Paddy Carrigan is lock forward. The interchange consists of Tyson Smoothie, Fletcher Baker, Kobe Hetherington, and Xavier Willison. A whole lot more interesting over here as well. We've heard this entire preseason essentially that Corey Oates was the man to get that wing spot, and I was all for it. He's been named at 18th man, and Dean Mariner has been given the nod above him. Very interesting to see that, but what can you do? They could change it come game day, but why big note Corey Oates all pre-season and then give Dean Mariner the shot? Anyway, makes it sort of interesting for super coaches. I'd assume Jesse Arthurs keeps his left wing spot, which is probably the place to be in Supercoach and the place to be just in general on that Broncos attack, picking up tries on the end of Reece Walsh. So interesting to see that. Of course, Corey Jensen gets the vacant front row or run-on front row position, and Fletcher Baker, the new recruit, as we expected, on their bench. Xavier Willison was rumoured to miss the side, and they were going to go with Marty Tapau. Personally, I think that should have been the go. I think Marty, the experience he brings, how good he was for them last year before the brain snap and suspension, and how good he was in the trials, I would have kept him there. But they've elected to go for Xavier Willison, and I'm not complaining too much because that means he's straight into my Supercoach side and presumably a lot of Supercoach sides. A cheapie front row, which we sort of need. Really great to see there. The reserves for both teams, the reserves for the Roosters is Junior Ponga, Angus Crichton, Egan Butcher, Zach Docker-Clay, and Connor Watson, who is one I forgot to mention. Interesting to note that he didn't make their run on 7 or just their 17 squad in general, and they've gone with Sandon Smith over Connor Watson. Not sure how long that lasted into the season, but yeah, very interesting one to note. For the Broncos, their reserves are Corey Oates, Jock Madden, Tristan Saylor, Martin Tapau, and Jaden Hunt. There we go. That wraps up the team list, the round 0, round 1, whatever you want to call it, the Vegas games, the superstars, the first bit of rugby league, the first bit of NRL action we get for 2024. How exciting is that? So I won't speak too much on it. From now on, obviously, we'll have to wrap these games up and talk about them when they happen. I assume when this happens, because it happens a fair bit before the rest of round 1, when these games happen, I'll do a podcast and talk about them in a separate thing to the rest of round 1. But that's all for today. That's all the team list news we have. It's exciting stuff. Exciting stuff. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. And I'll catch you guys in the next podcast.